YouTube world. Well, I decided it was a good time to jump back out here and give you all an update. I am at 2 years, 7 months with my Sisterlocks, and some things have changed. You know, I said that I would come out here whenever I felt like something had changed or there was something worth sharing with you. And I've had a few recent changes in my hair, and so I think it's a good time to update you. So the first thing I want to point out is that when I met with my loctician on Tuesday evening, I had a retightening. She said that my locks have locked. So you guys know that I'm one of the soft, fine strand ladies who has curly hair that was taking forever to lock. Well, I'm locked. So I've crossed into the mature stage. Of course, at the roots, you know, this is going to always be your baby lock hair, but I'm going to get a little closer so you guys can get a view. You see how the sheen, like that kind of natural soft sheen in my hair is not there. And I mean, I've locked. You can look at them and tell this is locked hair now. There is no concern about whether or not this is going to come out or wash out. My ends, I don't know if you all remember, but my ends in the back were the first ones to close. Okay, so you see that. In the front, I've closed up in the front too. You remember how at my 1 year update, I had no closed ends at all. My ends, for the most part, in the front are closed. Like I could literally cut, you know, these little hairs like this. I could cut this and it would be fine. See, so things like that, sometimes I'll go in and I'll just cut that. Like when I have a mature lock and there's just like a couple strands hanging from the end, I just go in and cut that off just to clean it up a little bit. So I've got a couple of notes that I'm gonna look at here, but that's the first thing. I am locked. So let me look around. Let me turn around so you can see it. And remember, I'm one of the people where you can always see my grid because I have fine strands. So where are we sitting? Just under, just a little bit over shoulder length? Whatever that length is. All right, so that's how we're doing. I am fully locked, except for, of course, the part of your hair that's never really fully locked because it's the freshest and it's growing out. One thing that I really started to notice probably, within the past 2 months is that the feel of my locks have changed. My ends feel firmer. You know, they feel more compact and firm. And that's just the changing texture that comes with when your hair is maturing and, you know, fully locking. It won't feel as soft. So my hair feels firmer to the touch now. My loctician, when I visited with her, said that I can try loose washing this next time. I will insert the video where I tried loose washing and I said, I don't like it. It's because when my hair is all wet, it felt like I was just like rubbing into a mop and it just didn't feel good. And so what I think that I'm gonna do is I am gonna loose wash the next time I wash my hair, but I'm probably just gonna put it like in 4 sections. Section here, section here, section here, section here. And then I will just focus on a section at a time. So it doesn't feel like I'm just overwhelmed with, you know, 580 plus locks. Because you remember I started at 591 and I've combined a few. So I should be at about, I don't know, 585 locks or something, or maybe a little more than that at this point. And so I think that if I put it in sections, it'll feel a little less overwhelming when I'm washing my hair. So I get to try loose washing, and I'll come back on here and tell you an update on how I feel about it once I do it in sections. There is less stretch to my hair now. So you know how with kinky coily hair, there's a lot of shrinkage. And so you'll see someone with the lock, you know, pull their lock down and their lock will stretch like all the way down here. I don't have much stretch in my hair now, and that's because it's locked. So see, I don't have much stretch in my hair. Where like this one has still a little stretchy, but this is not the norm for me. This is not the norm. Like I may have like an inch of stretch in my hair, but that's about it. I don't have all of this stretch in my hair now. Maybe I have like an inch or two in some places, but where my hair hangs is pretty much where it is, you know? See, there's just not as much stretch in the locks anymore. So I wanted to point that out. That's another sign that your locks have matured. So you see how these, like, they're not budging. Like maybe an inch of give in there. That's it. So that's another sign. They're maturing, not much stretch in my locks. I also wanted to provide some bunching tips because as you all know, I have extremely curly hair and I have a lot of movement in my hair. And because my strands are fine, I have a 3-point pattern. And a 3-point pattern gives you a looser lock, which allows more movement in the lock, which of course would promote more bunching for somebody with my hair texture. But it's the interesting thing about choosing your loctician, kind of working with your hair to choose what is going to be the right rotation for you. Based off of the softness and the curliness of my hair, I would be a 4-point rotation. Based off of how fine my hair is, meaning my strands are thin and I don't have a whole lot of density. I mean, you look at my hair, I have a lot of hair, but it's not, I have that fake me out hair. It looks like it's thick. It's not though. When you get off in there, you realize like, oh, I mean, this really isn't that much hair. That's the kind of hair that I have. So because of that, that's the reason why you would want me on a 3-point rotation. So naturally, my loctician had to weigh the options. She had to think about it and say, well, I could give her a 4-point rotation to try to hold her hair, you know, as tight as I can, knowing that it was still going to get some bunching anyway, just because that's the type of hair and texture and pattern and curl pattern, all that I have. Or she could decide, well, I want her to be able to have a fuller head of locks as much as someone with fine, thin strands can have. And so that's, you know, what she opted for, which I appreciate. For me, fullness and, you know, some coverage on my head matters more than a perfectly symmetrical lock. Because if you think about it, as my locks grow out and I trim my ends, the part of my hair that curled up and made the lock thicker at the end, you know, the part of my hair that really curled up and made the lock thicker at the end, that's going to be the first thing to get cut. So I'm just not worried about it. I'm going to give you some examples. You know, this is budding in some spots and bunching in other spots. So I do not have uniform locks, but it doesn't bother me. Like, I like the way my hair looks and I like the fullness. I like the fullness of my hair. So I appreciate the opportunity to have more movement in my locks so that my curls could kind of move and shift and do what they needed to do. And I ended up with a fuller head of hair than to have a nice uniform set of locks, but I'm looking really kind of fine and small and sparse. So that's just something to consider as you're going into your Sisterlock journey. Technically, what we could have done was started on a 4-point rotation, and then with the reties, we could have done the reties on a 3-point, and then that would have started kind of allowing the movement more at the root area. But whatever, I wanted to go with the 3-point because when you have curly hair and you have thinner, fine strands, a 3-point rotation is usually what's going to be recommended for you, unless, you know, you got something else that is not being considered among my comments as to why you would go ahead and be on like a more compact 4-point rotation. So for the bunching tips, what I just recommend is stretching out your locks. Like, because your hair is curlier and it has a lot of shrinkage and movement in it, after you take your braids down from washing your hair, first I recommend that you keep those braids in. until your hair is like 80% dry at least before you take them out. Because if you take them out right after you wash your hair, if you are a curly girl like me, earlier in my lock journey, I mean, my hair would just shrink right on up, just like my natural hair. Your locks will do that. And you don't want that. You want to keep them stretched. And so keep them braided after you have washed your hair. Also, once you take them down, it is nothing wrong with you running your hand over the length of your lock and stretching that lock out. I mean, literally like this. And getting those hairs to like, hey, you, get back in place. That's something that you will be able to do as you go throughout your journey too. So don't be afraid of your hair, especially once it's starting to stabilize and lock. Don't be afraid to like, actually, if you feel the ends of your hair, like the end of your lock is starting to curly Q and kind of come up like this because you have curly hair, pull it back down and straighten it. Make it, hey, you straighten out. And then you'll want to put it in braids from time to time just to make your ends, you know, tighten up. So you'll notice that even though my locks are not uniform, it's not as bad as what some curly girls experience. And that's because I've braided it, you know, over time to just make those ends compact and stretch, compact and stretch, compact and stretch. But yeah, so that's what I recommend for overall bunching tips. If you're the kind of woman that's going to have bunching, because that's just your texture, you have that soft curly hair, it's going to do what it does. Products, still not really using products in my hair. I have my water right here, distilled water that I throw a little rosemary essential oil and a little tea tree essential oil in there. So that's it. I mean, I spray this on my hair and then I wash my hair. And I've washed my hair with the Sisterlocks starter shampoo before. I've washed my hair with the Neutrogena anti-residue before. I've used Neutrogena tea sal before. I've used Neutrogena tea gel before. But my consistent shampoo, you remember for years, was that Nevo Detox shampoo. I used that for probably like a year and a half until I ran out. And then once I couldn't locate that on the market anymore, then I just started using the Neutrogena anti-residue. This most recent time when I went to the store, because I'm out of that one now, I bought the Suave Daily Clarifying that everybody on YouTube talks about. It's an inexpensive, basic shampoo. And again, I'm at the point where my locks are mature. I don't have to clarify every time I wash. So I bought that. And then I have a Kenra strengthening shampoo that I just dilute, that I bought recently, that I could use that, you know, when I'm washing my hair too. So basically, once your locks have matured, wash it with what you choose to wash it with. But the main thing to keep in mind is just making sure that you wash all of the product out and dilute any shampoo, especially if you're going to use something that's very creamy. I still don't use conditioner. Not a conditioner like in the shower, but I will use a leave-in conditioner. I've used the vanilla leave-in conditioner by Carol's Daughter. I've sprayed that on my hair before, maybe like once a month. Maybe I'll spray that on there. And I diluted that as well. I cut that product in half with distilled water just to dilute it a little more. I've also heard about the Alikay Naturals Lemongrass. I've heard about that, and I bought a bottle of that. Then maybe instead of next month using the vanilla, maybe I'll try that. So we'll see. But as you know, I don't really use much. So I wash my hair. I spray it maybe once a week with my distilled water essential oil mix. And that's it, y'all. That is literally all I do with this hair. So don't have much of an update in the way of products because I still just wash my hair and just spray my hair, mist it maybe once a week. That's about it. So that's pretty much my update on how it's been at 2 years and 7 months. So you're getting an idea here, where it's hanging, how it's doing. It's filling in nicely for someone with thinner strands and fine strands. And, you know, you always still going to be able to see my grid pretty much, except for maybe that last week before I go get a retie. But that's it. There's one other thing that I did want to show you all. I had somebody go into my comments and ask me when they found out that I have lock jewelry, where do I get my lock jewelry from? And what kind of lock jewelry do I have? And the company that I purchased from is Tiffany's Lock Jewels. Tiffany's Lock Jewels. And the reason why I did that is because since I have Sisterlocks, everyone doesn't market to Sisterlocks. And I also wanted something that I could easily put in my hair and take out. Also, because I have a cool complexion, meaning that I look better in silvers, platinums, those kinds of types of jewelry. Gold usually doesn't look very good on my complexion because I don't have those warm undertones to be able to pull off gold. I like the fact that she had, you know, cuffs, you know, Sisterlock size cuffs. And so I checked their website. They actually don't have this one anymore the last time I checked, but it is a hematite little cuff. And I wanted to give you guys an example of how I put it in my hair. Since I just had a retightening, meaning that I also just washed my hair, I have the ability to be able to go in now if I want to and just, you know, put a lock jewel on my hair and not have to worry about it for the next couple of weeks. What I do is I find a lock that has a thicker end so that it won't fall out of my hair and I'll be frustrated because I lost it. And what I do is I just put it on a bead. What do you call these? The thing that you put beads on when you do your daughter's hair, whatever that's called. And so I may have picked a lock that's a little bit too full. But what I do is I put this on, there it is. And that way I can pull it through. I put it on a lock that's kind of full. And then I just throw it in there. And there it is. What'll happen is when I pull my hair up, like in a top knot or something like that, you'll see it. Or, you know what I mean? Like if I do a style like this where it's part up, part down, you know, something like this, you'll really be able to see it in there. But that's all I do with lock jewelry. And that's how I put it in my hair. So I wanted to throw that in this video as well because I promised someone, one of my subscribers, that I was going to make sure that I come back out here and show you all what I do with lock jewels. So that's it. I have just several of these cuffs. And what I do is I just throw them, you know, periodically, random spots throughout my hair. And you'll just see a little bit of shine and a little bit of dangle every now and again hanging out in my hair. And that's it. And I can easily just take it off. Now, one thing I will say is that I have purchased other types of lock jewels that have not worked out for me. So, for example, I love this one. This is another hematite jewel. It's like a longer type of cuff. I can't use it though because it gets stuck in the strands of my hair. I have frizzy curly hair, you know, so strands are kind of still doing what they do even with mature locks. And when I put these on, my husband had to like come and get off in my hair to get this back off of my lock. So even though it's beautiful, I don't really wear it because when I slide it onto my lock, I'm all good. But after a few days, like it'll grab a hair from somewhere and I had a hard time getting it out. I also purchased, I can't find it right now, but I also purchased some of those little small kind of little spiral little locks, lock jewels, and that would get stuck in my hair too. Anything that has like a little curly cue at the end or something cute like that, I can't put that in my hair. So the only thing that I can do is like a cuff. I need an actual like smooth sealed cuff, and that's what I can get in my hair and out of my hair safely without causing drama. So that's how I put a lock jewel in my hair. And the last thing I wanted to point out was if you want to do something like a cowrie shell, I just have a basic cowrie shell. You put it on the braider, whatever this thing is called, y'all, the beater thing. And then I'm going to just put it in the front where you guys can get an example. Again, I always pick one of my locks that is not like right in the front, my smaller locks. I always pick something with a little more something at the end. And then pull it through. I'm just trying to get it up the beater. Pull it through. And then what I would do if I was doing a cowrie shell like this, I would just come behind this and I would bring my lock up, straighten it out, and I would just use a black rubber band. That's how I would hold a cowrie shell in my hair. Because again, the big deal for me is the fact that I need to be able to take these out. I don't leave my lock jewels in my hair forever. I need to be able to take them out. So because of that, everything that I'm doing is a temporary solution. So there we go. I would just fold up the end of my lock, throw my cowrie in there, and there you go. Those are some examples of how I would put lock jewels in my hair. All right. I hope you all are doing well. I hope your families are doing well. I hope you're staying positive out here, staying prayed up. And, you know, just most importantly, focusing on who you are, your spiritual growth and development, because that's what we need, right? That's what we most need in this day and time. So with that, I'm wrapping it up, and I will see you soon. Have a great week.